Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Could the result of Michigan's election change? Coming up, we'll take a look at some of the claims and ways the official count is being challenged.
COVID is extending its reach into every corner of our country, our state, and our communities. Among the latest to test positive, some local firefighters and Michigan State University's legendary basketball coach. We start things off here on the News at 6 with the coronavirus on the day the United States hit 10 million confirmed COVID cases.
Remarkably, 1 million of those cases have come in just the past 10 days. State of Michigan reporting 9,010 cases over the past 2 days, which averages out to just over 4,500 cases a day. So that is slightly lower than Saturday's record-breaking number of 6,225. But sadly, we've lost 62 more Michiganders over those 48 hours to the virus.
The state has also put out its weekly report on school outbreaks, adding 50 schools to the list. That means those schools are reporting 2 or more connected cases of COVID-19. You can view the full list on the COVID-19 data page of our website, clickondetroit.com.
There is new optimism surrounding efforts to develop a vaccine. Pfizer said today early test results on its vaccine are showing 90% effectiveness. That doesn't mean a vaccine will be available before the end of this year, however.
And we learned within the past few hours that legendary Michigan State basketball coach Tom Izzo has tested positive for COVID. In a statement, Izzo says he has minor symptoms and remains in good health. You'll hear from the coach coming up later in sports.
Beaumont Health is reinstating visitor restrictions for non-COVID patients. Starting tomorrow morning, visitors will be limited to 1 family member or friend, and they'll only be allowed in if a patient meets specific criteria, like undergoing surgery or in hospice care. We have listed all of that criteria at clickondetroit.com. The policy affects Beaumont's Royal Oak, Troy, and Grosse Pointe hospitals until further notice. Now, each day we're seeing new examples of how far COVID is once again spreading through our communities.
We showed you at 5:30 how Warren had to shut down its City Hall, and now COVID has led to the shutting down of a local fire station. Sean Lay is in Troy with that part of the story. Sean, good evening.
Good evening to you, Kimberly. Let's put that in perspective for everyone. Troy City Hall's behind me. It's been shut down since March. Now today we're talking about fire station number 2 here in Troy that has had several members, 6, test positive for COVID-19. So that station is shut down tonight. It will not interrupt service. According to the city, it is an on-call fire department, so everything's been covered as far as emergencies here in Troy. But going forward, whether you live in Troy or not, this is another wake-up call that if your place of business, where you work, where your kids go to school, or your municipalities have learned the lessons from April and March.
Across the city, we're seeing increased numbers at the hospitals. We're seeing increased admissions to hospitals. We're seeing an increased testing rate.
Dr. Rob Dunn is the medical director of the Medical Control Authority for the city of Detroit, but consider him as a COVID detective. He is following the clues to a very real spike in cases in Metro Detroit, now impacting workplaces. Local 4 has learned the city of Troy has shut down fire station number 2 after several firefighters have tested positive for the virus. The city says it is unknown where the firefighters contracted the virus, but they can confirm that the positive firefighters have been on runs together. The big picture here, expect your area to see the same thing.
I think that what you're seeing is the fact that the numbers are up in the community, and that's affecting everybody in every workplace.
Dr. Dunn says Detroit learned a ton after being hit hard by COVID in March and April. That not only hurt our community, but hurt the police department as well. Those lessons are helping the city refine protocols with an intense focus on workplace safety, making sure essential employees are spaced out and temperature checks are given and masks are being worn.
We're seeing a case here and a case there across the entire continuum of our employees that really seems to represent the communities where they're coming from, something in the family, things like that. And that's always a big concern, right? As those numbers go up in the community, that means that, we're going to see that.
Interesting stuff there from Dr. Dunn. We'll get back to him in just a second. Let's talk about here in Troy again. 1 out of 5 firehouses now shut down for a COVID-19 spike and an uptick there, with 6 of their firefighters now at home quarantined with the virus. The city says it will not impact fire service, emergency services at all. But again, those firefighters were on runs. It's something to keep an eye on as they contact trace. Dr. Dunn says the lessons he is seeing the city of Detroit and other municipalities learn is that having a reduced staff, people wearing masks, temperature checks, and he says keeping that distance is the key in the workplace right now. Again, a lot to look at going forward. We're live in Troy tonight. Sean Late, Local 4.
Okay, Sean. With several local districts returning to remote learning and others recently sending their students back to school, many parents are wondering what's driving these vastly different decisions.
Our Dr. Frank McGeorge here with a closer look at the challenges of face-to-face learning. Doc?
Yeah, Kim and Devin. So this is a great example of a one-size-does-not-fit-all situation. While masks are mandated in all schools, different schools have different abilities to further reduce the spread of the virus with, for example, smaller classes, more space, better ventilation, so on. Making the decision at a local level makes sense, but there are no easy answers. What role are schools playing in potentially spreading the coronavirus? It's the question parents, administrators, and the community as a whole would like to know. While it's abundantly clear that colleges have generated a high amount of spread across the country, when it comes to younger grades, it's not as simple. There have been outbreaks in Michigan schools, defined as 2 or more connected cases in students or staff not in the same household. Now, many have objected to the use of the word outbreak, but essentially, these are considered schools where transmission is documented or at least highly probable. But Michigan's school outbreak list does not include schools with students or staff members who have tested positive but have not appeared to spread the virus to others. Fortunately, that's a much more common scenario, which suggests the safety precautions are working in many districts. Unfortunately, we have no idea how much asymptomatic spread could be happening. Studies have found younger children are more likely to be asymptomatic than adults. Without regularly testing students and staff who don't have symptoms, it's impossible to know how often children are silently spreading the virus. Now, as the level of cases rise in a given community, we can expect the level of cases to rise in the schools as well. And as cases continue to climb in the state of Michigan, it's reasonable to assume that we will reach a level of spread where it just won't be practical to keep schools open anymore.
Are you surprised that so many districts are making different decisions about what might be best?
Well, not really, Devin. You know, I think because the districts are not just looking at the numbers, they're also trying to balance the desire of parents to have kids in school.
Sure.
And the fact is, it's clear, kids do learn better in school. Different districts have a different tolerance of risk and different abilities to reduce that risk, which is absolutely why it's been left up to local leaders to make that decision, at least for now.
Well, I don't envy any of the decision makers on this right now, that's for sure. All right, Frank. Kim.
Well, there are leaves all over the ground, but today was shorts and T-shirt weather.
It's just spectacular, and what a gorgeous weekend. Let's see if we can squeeze a little more out of this, Ben.
Hey guys, other than that clue and the lack of palm trees, this would pass as Florida in November, no questions asked. But I'll tell you, temperatures have started to cool pretty quickly. We made it into the mid-70s for highs today. We're down into the upper 60s right now, but we're only going to the 50s for overnight lows. So still, our low temperatures are going to be close to where we would normally be for an average high. There's the rest of your evening. We'll be down to 61 with mostly clear conditions. Here's what we're tracking for the remainder of the week. Showers and possibly some thunderstorms with the warm temperatures. That's part of the bargain. And then the rain early Wednesday. The cold temperatures right on its heels. We'll look at how long that's going to last and whether the entire weekend is going to be a rain out or if we can salvage part of that. More on that coming up.
Okay, Ben, thank you. President-elect Joe Biden is forging ahead with his plans for fighting the coronavirus pandemic. Today, the transition phase kicked off with the announcement of a 13-member COVID-19 advisory council. The group will help the president-elect develop a plan of attack to combat the pandemic as soon as he's sworn into office. In the meantime, President-elect Biden strongly urged Americans to wear a mask as cases surge across the nation.
I want to be very clear. The goal of mask wearing is not to make your life less comfortable. It's to take something away from you. It's to give something back to all of us, a normal life.
The advisory board includes doctors and scientists who have served in previous administrations, many of them experts in public health, vaccines, and infectious diseases.
President Trump making news today by firing Defense Secretary Mark Esper. It comes as the president is moving forward with legal challenges and brushing off calls to concede the election. This afternoon, President Trump tweeted, quote, "The threshold identification of ballots is turning out to be even bigger than originally anticipated. A very large number of ballots are impacted. Stay tuned." President Trump did not mention Michigan, but he also tweeted about perceived issues in Nevada, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. The process to certify the election is already underway, but there are a lot of ways for it to be interrupted or changed. There are also some theories that are causing concern, but that don't have much standing in reality. Our Grant Herms takes a look.
With deadlines fast approaching, state Republicans and President Trump's campaign are trying to change the outcome of Michigan's elections in a few ways.
First is a recount. According to Michigan state law, a recount has to be triggered when a candidate wins by less than 2,000 votes, which doesn't apply to this year. It can also be petitioned by a campaign as long as they have a reasonable chance to win. But that's unlikely given Biden's lead, and it's expensive. The Trump campaign would have to pay for the recount by precinct. Next is the effort to halt the count based on claims that a Republican poll watcher was removed from a counting room and that a poll worker was instructed to change the date on ballots that may have arrived after Election Day. A court of claims judge denied both accusations as hearsay or moot. And while the campaign has appealed, that same judge saying today the campaign was missing key documents and has 21 days to turn them in or the appeal is dismissed. State Republicans are also calling for supporters to make claims about irregularities to a hotline set up by the party, hoping to bring those to court too. Finally, there's the claim the state legislature could refuse to certify the election and instead replace Electoral College electors with ones more favorable to the president, whose campaign reportedly has been trying to get friendly state leaders to do just that. But a statement from a spokesperson for Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey saying state law doesn't allow it, writing, "I think it's important to dispel the notion legislative leaders in Michigan can choose different electors."
While many of these things could muddy the waters of the election outcome, experts think they'll have little or no impact on Michigan's election. In Detroit, Grant Herms, Local 4.
All right, Grant, also worth noting, it is illegal in the state of Michigan for an elector to change their vote when voting for president and vice president.
The giant Clinton River Trail system is getting some big upgrades, what it means for the safety of people who use it and drivers on the roads.
And let's check in with Victor.
If you're wondering what happened to that downtown skate park near Campus Martius, we know the new location where it's heading to and why it just might warm your heart. That story coming up.